In today's video, how to know if you're losing weight or body fat when the scale goes down.
All by myself.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Ravella from ProPhysique.com, and I want to apologize first off for my nasally sound today. I had a nice head cold for the last couple days, and it prevented me from putting out some videos because I got some great questions from you guys, so I was really itching to get these out on Monday and Tuesday, but alas, it's Wednesday. I finally feel like myself again. Don't quite sound like myself, which is a shame because I got a podcast today with Redefine Healthy Radio. Lauren Conlon and Dr. Campbell are coming over to the house to record the podcast. So if you're not following along on the podcast, I'll try to link it below, but it's called Redefine Healthy Radio and it's on all the big platforms. So let's talk about today's question, which comes from my Instagram direct message. I'll put it on the screen here, and if you're interested in asking me a question, if you just send me a direct message, I'll scroll through, find them, and let's talk about this one. It says, I'm on my fitness journey, but regained a lot of weight recently as I had to stop training. I am back at the gym and losing weight again, but my question is how to know when you're losing weight, meaning just fluid or even muscle, or fat. Are there ways to identify when we lose weight or fat if the scale goes down? Now, this is a great question for so many reasons, because a lot of times what I see people getting so excited about on the internet is that they do these challenges where they drop 30 pounds in 30 days or 10 pounds in 2 days, or they go on a cleanse or a fast and they lose all this weight. But the term weight is kind of associated with body fat, but the two are not related, not really at all, because weight, as it comes to our body composition, the biggest fluctuation is fluids. Fluid shifts is going to have a huge impact on how our body looks, how our body performs, and certainly how it weighs on the scale. Have you ever picked up a gallon of water and held it? It's pretty heavy, right? It weighs about 8 pounds. So think about that. When people go on these restrictive diets where they're removing sodium, removing carbohydrates, and on a very low calorie diet, there's really not a lot of extra fluid retention in the body at that time. So you might be losing more than a gallon of water. Congratulations, you just dehydrated yourself, okay? So you essentially have not changed your body fat. However, you get excited because the scale goes down. Now, if these plans are helping someone stay motivated to stick to their lower calorie approach, that's great. But what I often see happen is someone will start one of these approaches, they'll lose that initial 8-10 pounds, and then nothing happens for a while, and they realize it was just fluid because they go out and have one salty meal and drink a bunch of water and they put on 4 or 5 pounds and they feel defeated. Okay, so how do you know if you're looking at your body, if you're losing body fat or just water weight? Now, fat cells actually adipose tissues do actually contain water in them. So you are going to see an increase in fat cell volume when you are drinking more water and hydrated, okay? So there will be an appearance of being leaner when you're a little bit dehydrated. But a few key indicators for me. Now, you mentioned that you were in the gym lifting. One great way to measure whether you're losing body fat or weight is through performance in the gym, okay? You should be able to continue to lift in a quality manner. If you're really struggling, that's a good sign that you're dehydrated. If you are no longer seeing muscle fullness that you used to see, that's a great sign. But if it comes to fat loss, our bodies tend to store body fat in a predetermined manner all over our bodies. I myself, as I've gone through fat loss phases throughout my life, have noticed that the bulk of my body fat tends to reside in my lower back and in my glutes and in that area. Okay, so this is where I notice a lot of the fat change. So one great way to know if you're losing body fat or just weight is through pictures. And it can be very hard to document your journey when you're not really happy, but you don't have to share those pictures. And what's really fun is when you have some nice before pictures and you reach your goal, because we've all done it where we've lost a bunch of weight and we wished we had those pictures when we first started. Very few people actually take pictures when they first start. It's embarrassing. You don't like the way you look with your shirt off, but I would suggest you do a front and back picture at least once a week in the same lighting, in the same clothing, preferably with some light coming at you. I have a ring light here so you can see the light coming at me. What that allows is us to see the visual changes week by week. The first time I went on a fat loss diet for my first ever contest prep, I was shocked. Because although I would see myself in the gym every day and I would even take my shirt off and look in the mirror, I didn't see a lot of changes, although I had lost 10, 12, 15 pounds. But what was remarkable was when I saw myself from the back. I saw huge differences in the amount of detail that were going on in my lower back, in my legs. So those are things that I would not really have seen had I not been able to see my back. And that was not really possible without taking pictures. So that's the first way to tell. The second way to tell would be to do measurements, okay? Because body fat accumulates very quickly and you lose it rather quickly. Muscle does not accumulate very quickly, and it's not very easy to lose muscle very quickly. So if you have some big changes in measurements, you can be fairly certain that those are going to be body fat, especially if you're measuring areas where body fat is preferentially stored. Okay, so as a coach, I like to use the waist measurement as my biggest indicator, okay? For men and women, if you just put the tape measure around your navel, or some women actually, because the shape of their hips and waist, I just say use the smallest part, but always try to find the smallest part. The key is just being consistent and using the same spot when you're measuring. But if you notice that the waist measurement is going down, you know that you're losing body fat, okay? Because there's no muscle in the circumference of the waist, okay? What we're seeing there is a change in body fat levels when those measurements come down. Now, for some people, they'll also measure the arm, depends how much body fat you have. You can measure the thigh, you can measure the hips, the glutes, even the chest, okay? So these are some common areas where you're gonna see some changes in measurements. The biggest and most exciting part about fat loss is actually seeing and noticing those changes. So don't be shy about taking pictures, about doing measurements, okay? What gets measured gets improved. And I did not invent that saying, but it's true. When you document something, it motivates you to push yourself to that next level. Had I never gone through the process of taking pictures and tracking measurements and checking the scale all the way through a competition diet, I wouldn't have got the momentum that I got, the excitement build, to the point where I started creating habits because I wanted to create that progress every week. The same can be true of you. Okay, so how do you know if you're losing just weight or if you're losing body fat? Well, one way to tell is with the measurements, but most importantly, it's don't make these drastic cuts to your diet. If you completely remove carbohydrates, if you completely remove sodium, if you make a huge shift to your diet where you're only eating 500 calories a day, you can be fairly certain that you're very, very dehydrated as far as fluid. That doesn't mean you're dehydrated as far as how much body you need. It just means how much you're retaining. Carbohydrates are stored in our muscle cells with water. That fluid has weight. So that's what I mean by dehydrated. I don't mean you're thirsty. If you deplete all your glycogen out of your body, you can't just then drink water and get more hydrated, okay? That's not how that works. You have to then ingest some carbohydrates. That's gonna help fill the muscles out. Hopefully that makes sense. But that's the answer to your question, and I hope you guys are having an awesome today. And I have another great question that I'm gonna do for tomorrow, and hopefully I'm even less nasally than I am today. All right, guys, thank you. Have a great rest of your day.